You've heard phrases like raining cats and dogs or maybe break a leg countless times, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're everywhere.
But have you ever actually stopped and thought about how weird they are if you take them literally?
Yeah. Totally bizarre.
I mean, imagine trying to explain to someone learning English that break a leg actually means good luck. It's just strange when you step back from it.
It really highlights how much of our language isn't literal at all. You need that shared cultural understanding. Otherwise, these phrases are just gibberish.
Exactly. And that mystery, that sort of hidden meaning, that's what we're diving into today.
Mm-hmm. The weird and wonderful world of idioms.
We're plunging right in. They're like these secret codes, embedded in everyday speech, packing in so much meaning, emotion, cultural stuff.
All in just a few words.
Yeah.
Linguistic shortcuts, basically.
But shortcuts that add incredible color and depth.
And it's fascinating how these seemingly simple phrases are actually quite complex, linguistically speaking. They're not just decoration.
Right. They're functional. They let us communicate with nuance, with a kind of precision that goes way beyond just the dictionary definitions of the words.
Absolutely.
And to help us decode all this, we've gathered a really great mix of sources. We've got language learning blogs like Lil But Mighty English and Espresso English.
Practical stuff there.
Yeah, and then business communication insights from Oxford Language Club and GNE. Plus, a look at history from the Henry Ford Museum blog.
Oh, interesting. Origins.
Exactly. Expert takes from Camilla's English page, and even a Reddit discussion comparing idioms and proverbs.
That's a solid lineup.
Yeah.
Should give us the full picture from where these things came from to how we use them, or maybe shouldn't use them, today.
Okay, so let's get into it. Our mission today is to really unpack idioms. What are they? Where do they sprout from? How are they different from things like proverbs?
And crucially, how you can use them effectively.
Or maybe, just as importantly, when to just steer clear. We want this deep dive to give you those aha moments, so you feel well-informed and ready to navigate this nuanced world of English. All right.
Let's do it.
Okay, so to really get a handle on these linguistic quirks, let's start with the basics. How do our sources actually define an idiom beyond just, a weird phrase?
Well, Lil But Mighty English puts it nicely. They say idioms convey so much meaning and subtext without having to say too much.
Efficiency. I like that. A communication hack.
Exactly. And Henry Ford blog defines it as a non-literal expression whose meaning cannot be deduced from the true meaning of its individual words. It gets its own meaning over time.
Right. The sum is different from the parts.
Precisely. And a Reddit user discussing this echoes it perfectly. Idioms whore. Idioms are groups of words whose meaning is different from individual words, which, they point out, makes them super hard to translate.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If you don't already know the specific non-literal meaning, you're kind of lost, right? Like, over the moon, but maybe not in a good way until someone explains it.
Huh. Right. It really speaks to that shared understanding again, like a linguistic handshake or maybe an inside joke.
An inside joke is a great way to put it. And that leads us nicely into the stories behind them, because understanding the origins, well, that often unlocks the real appreciation and sometimes a bit of darkness too.
Ooh, okay. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, it is. The origin stories often fall into a few camps. Some are like direct metaphors from a physical thing. Yeah. Others reveal historical stuff we've almost forgotten.
And new ones pop up too, right? From technology and things.
Definitely. We're always making new ones.
Okay, let's start with one that kind of blew my mind. Mad as a Hatter, from Alice in Wonderland.
Classic.
Our sources say that hat makers way back like 18th to early 20th century used mercurous nitrate. Nasty stuff. Toxic.
Right, for making felt.
And long-term exposure literally caused neurological damage. Mood swings, memory loss, erratic behavior. People actually went, well, mad.
It's more than just a fun fact, isn't it? It shows how language can sort of paper over or forget some pretty harsh historical realities.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what other hidden histories are lurking beneath everyday phrases we use without a second thought.
It really does. Okay, here's another one from the Henry Ford blog again. Fly by the seat of your pants.
Ah, the early aviators.
Exactly. Pilots improvising, flying by instinct when instruments weren't great, especially in bad weather. Apparently their backside was literally the main point of contact, giving them a feel for the plane's movement.
So it's a direct physical sensation that became a metaphor for improvisation. Makes sense.
Yeah. And that leads to others with similar literal, maybe less grim origins, like burning the midnight oil.
Right before electricity or even gas lamps, people used actual oil lamps or candles to work late.
A poet named Francis Quarles used midnight oil way back in 1635.
Wow. So pulling an all-nighter for an exam, you're literally part of a centuries-old tradition.
Kind of cool, actually. And break the ice. Makes perfect sense.
Originally about ships, right? Breaking through frozen water.
Yep, physically breaking the ice so boats could pass. Then it became figurative for, easing social tension.
Simple, elegant metaphor shift.
And handle with kid gloves literally comes from gloves made of soft kid skin. You had to handle things gently.
Which then evolved to mean dealing with any situation delicately. Tangible origins again.
It's amazing how many started so physically, so concretely, before shifting metaphorically. Language, just observing the world.
Constantly abstracting from it, yeah.
Okay, this next one really surprised me. Make the grade.
Okay, I think I know this one. It's not about school, is it?
Not originally. I always thought exams too, but the Henry Ford blog says it's about steam locomotives.
Ah, the Allegheny locomotives.
Yes. Needing huge power and traction to literally make the grade, meaning climb the steep hills in the Allegheny Mountains.
So if you make the grade, you have the power to overcome a challenge. That's fantastic.
Yeah, isn't it? And like you said, not all idioms are ancient. We're making new ones.
Like, surf the net.
Perfect example. That blog attributes it, or net surfer, to a librarian, Jean Armour Polly, back in '92.
And she used surfing deliberately, right, as a metaphor for navigating the internet.
Yeah, she said something like, it's hard, you need some skill, you never know if there are going to be sharks.
Huh, that's brilliant. Shows how new tech sparks fresh language.
Okay, Lil But Mighty English gave us another one, kind of grim again. By the farm, meaning to die.
Oh yeah, that one's dark. Wartime origin, isn't it?
Apparently, yeah. Planes getting shot down in Europe, often crashing into local farms.
A sobering reminder of how even tragic events get embedded in our language.
Definitely. And then there's eye candy.
Which today often means something or someone just superficially attractive.
But the origin is actually quite touching. It involves a glass artist, Ginny Ruffner. After a serious accident, her friends sent her these blown glass orbs, really bright colors and patterns.
To stimulate her memory and vision.
Exactly. It was literally candy for her eyes, a beautiful, restorative visual treat.
That gives it a very different feel from how we often use it now, doesn't it? More depth.
It really does. It's just amazing how a phrase can start so concretely or even profoundly and then just take on a life of its own. Language as a living archive.
Constantly shifting.
Now, a key thing we wanted to clarify is the difference between idioms and other things, especially Proverbs. That Reddit discussion, English learning, was really helpful here.
Right. The user there nailed the core difference. An idiom's meaning is different from individual words. You can't puzzle it out easily.
You need prior knowledge.
Exactly. Whereas a proverb, while maybe not 100% literal, is usually easier to understand. It's meant to be a well-known phrase that gives advice or wisdom.
Like the Chinese proverb example they gave. The more you sweat in practice, the less you bleed in battle.
You get the wisdom there instantly. The life lesson is clear.
Right. But then what about something like, let bygones be bygones? That sounds a bit like advice.
But the Reddit discussion actually flags that as an idiom, not a proverb. Because the meaning isn't really obvious just from the words, bygones be bygones. It's a specific, fixed, non-literal phrase meaning forgive past offenses. It's not presented as universal wisdom in the same way.
Okay, so general life lesson, probably a proverb. Quirky phrase meaning something else entirely. That's your idiom.
So it's a pretty good rule of thumb. And it highlights that while idioms are fun, that non-literal nature can be, well, a double-edged sword.
You've really hit on something important there. Because, yeah, they add color, but you have to know when and how to use them. And crucially, when not to. It's a bit of a tightrope walk.
It absolutely is. Lil But Mighty English gives some direct advice here. They say basically idioms are fun for informal stuff, like dialogue and stories.
But avoid them in formal writing.
Pretty much. The reasoning is simple. In formal writing, you want to be as clear, direct, and accurate as possible.
Makes sense. Obscure idioms can just confuse people, especially non-native speakers, or make you sound cliche if you overuse them.
Right. They warn against using them too much, so your writing doesn't sound unoriginal or cliche.
So you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. See, there's one. You wouldn't use that in a serious report, right?
Definitely not. It's all about context and audience. Imagine trying to impress your new boss and confidently saying you're going to hit the nail on the head, but you use it totally wrong.
Cringe. Yeah, that's the tightrope.
Espresso English actually provides lists of phrases for different situations. Some are idiomatic, great for informal chats, like saying someone's rich.
You could say they're loaded or filthy rich, maybe making a killing or rolling in dough.
Exactly. All much more informal than just saying very wealthy. Saying for someone without much money, short on cash, broke, just scraping by. Common in casual talk.
But in business, while you need to understand idioms maybe that others use.
Directness is usually better for your own communication. Oxford Language Club has lots of phrases for professional settings, but they tend to be clearer, less figurative.
Like, let's get down to business, or I'm afraid I have to disagree. Things focused on clarity in meetings. They mostly avoid the really colorful stuff.
Yeah, G&E points out the goal in business comms is often confidence and professionalism, which usually means being clear, concise.
But knowing idioms still helps you understand the subtext, right? Even if you don't use them yourself formally, to sort of read between the lines.
Absolutely essential for comprehension sometimes.
Okay, but beyond just choosing to use an idiom or not, there's using them correctly, because messing up even a tiny bit, like a preposition, can ruin it.
Oh, definitely. This is where Camilla's English page is useful, with its list of diction and idiom errors.
Right, they show how using the wrong preposition with a verb can be an idiomatic mistake, like saying capable to solve instead of capable of solving.
It seems small, but it's vital for sounding fluent. It's about respecting the language's established patterns, even if they seem a bit arbitrary sometimes.
That's really the tail wagging the dog, isn't it, if you get it wrong? Where a tiny detail totally changes the meaning.
That's a good idiom for it.
The article mentions in regards to as a common error, should be in regard to or with regard to.
See, it shows that idiomatic correctness isn't just about the fun, colorful phrases. It's about precise word choices you might not even realize are idiomatic.
So getting these subtleties right really boosts your communication, whether you want flair or just clarity. Mastering the unspoken rules.
Exactly.
So we've taken quite a journey through this quirky world of idioms. We started with understanding what really makes an idiom that non-literal meaning.
Then we dug into some of those fascinating, sometimes forgotten historical roots.
And saw how they work or don't work in different contexts, informal chat versus, say, formal writing. You should have a much richer sense of these linguistic shortcuts now.
And connecting it to the bigger picture, knowing idioms isn't just about, bigger vocabulary. It's deeper. It's about understanding cultural nuances.
Adding personality to how you speak.
And really getting the subtext in conversations, books, movies. It just unlocks another layer of understanding language, not just the words, but the world behind them.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you to maybe chew on as you go about your day.
Okay.
We talked about the time is ripe, having those ancient farming roots, and how Martin Luther King Jr. used it so powerfully for urgency.
Right, connecting history to present action.
So think about how many idioms we use today, even really common ones, might carry that kind of hidden historical weight, reflecting old technologies, forgotten social norms, past beliefs.
Things we don't even think about when we say them.
Exactly. How does realizing that change how you see language? Not just as a tool, but as this living archive of human experience, constantly changing, sometimes leaving the origin story behind, but still resonating.
That's a deep thought. Language carrying a history within it.
And think about the new idioms. We mentioned surf the net. What idioms are being coined right now, maybe about AI or social media or climate change? What will they tell people about our world generations from now?
What is the next surf the net?
Maybe you've heard one recently, a new phrase that made you pause and wonder, where did that come from? We challenge you. Listen a bit more closely to the language all around you. You won't be surprised what you find.